What's up, and welcome in to Under the Hood with me, Jonathan Hood. Thanks so much for downloading the podcast and checking us out on YouTube, youtube.com. Look for Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Like, share, and subscribe, which you find on YouTube. We've got so much content on the Bears and college football and baseball, because that'll be the theme for our podcast today. You know what was missing on Monday? No baseball since March. I've been going to the MLB app to listen or to watch Major League Baseball, but the regular season's over. And so now here we are with the playoffs right around the corner starting on Tuesday. We're going to hear from our guy Sid from the Barber Chair Network in just a moment. We'll get his thoughts about what's going on with the Major League Baseball playoffs. He's a big Mets fan, by the way. Oh, he is not happy. One of the biggest collapses we've ever seen in baseball, where the Mets were going to be maybe one of the favorites to be able to get things done in the Major League Baseball playoffs. Not the case. They are eliminated. And all these extra wild cards, and the Mets are out. So we're going to hear from Sid in just a moment. We are presented by Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago, nhschicago.org for Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago. Hey, you got to get out of that stuffy loft. Got to get out of that overpriced apartment. And I want you to consider Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago. NHSchicago.org is where you go. NHSchicago.org. They celebrated 50 years of being in business. They've helped my family. They can help yours as well. Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago. And it's just about the home buying process. It's about being able to learn how to buy a home and just learn just some of the things that you need to know, especially for first-time home buyers. NHSchicago.org. Just tell them Jay Hood sent you. I do want to tell you that it is weird on Monday to not have any baseball, but here we are. We're going to have baseball starting with the playoffs on Tuesday. And by the way, let me be the first to tell you that ESPN Chicago, where I am with the Cap and J Hood Morning Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9, we will have the Chicago Cubs playoff games on ESPN Chicago. That's exactly right. So turn on to ESPN 1000, download the ESPN Chicago app. You'll be able to check out the Cubs and the Padres, the first games of that series against San Diego. That series, by the way, Cub fans, will be very interesting because, as you well know, as a White Sox fan, if you've been following along my journey, I've had such an issue with Jerry Reinsdorf and the White Sox that I turned heel on my favorite team, the team that means the most to me in Chicago. And on the Cap and J Hood Morning Show, I unzipped the hoodie, boom, Padres shirt. So for the last couple of years, I've been a Padres fan just to stick it to the White Sox because I know over there at 35th and Vec, they were pissed off that one of their biggest White Sox fans turned heel. Not necessarily on the players, not necessarily on the manager, but on Jerry Reinsdorf. And I wanted him to know how much it sucks that in a major market that the Sox compete like they're a AAA ball club. Now, there's some good things happening for the White Sox as far as youth is concerned, but the bottom line is, though, is that in a major market, you should not be a 100-loss ball club again. So this is going to be interesting from that standpoint. I've been watching the Padres, staying up late at night. I could show you these bags underneath these eyeglasses, watching a lot of West Coast baseball with the Padres. But Padres and Cubs will be very interesting, especially now that Matthew Boyd is going to start in place of the young rookie that I thought that was going to be able to start, but that's not the case. So it's going to be Matthew Boyd against the Padres. That's going to be fun. But let's talk about what's happening with Major League Baseball playoffs. We turn to our guy Sid from the Barber Chair Network. Sid joins us right here on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. As always, sir, I appreciate your time. Condolences.
No need for condolences. Unfortunate ending to the season, but not one that seems super far off to me. Um, Realistically, as much as I love the Mets, and we have a realistic prognosis to go through when it comes to these guys, but
Yeah.
I never really saw them being any higher than the wild card two, realistically. It's a short pitching staff, it's a relatively young pitching staff, all things considered. And so, yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into the digs. I watched David Stern's state of the club after today, and I act like so many people have tried to poke and prod and everything. I've been my one of my first earliest memories as a Mets fan is losing the World Series in 2000. So nothing's going to bother me too much. 2006 was awful. 2007 was worse. 2008, Jesus
Mhm.
Christ. Uh, so I've seen the worst of it when I've been far more emotional in my life. So nowadays, no, I don't think anyone will get that out of me. But yeah, like I said, let's dissect a little bit of what went wrong with the 2025 Metropolitans.
Yeah, so you could find Sid at the High and Outside podcast, part of the Barber Chair Network, and what you're also hearing, if you're listening on the podcast, is someone that is in deep, deep denial, because from all over the area of New York, you can hear it. I'm in Chicago. I can hear it without turning on a device. Hearing from Mets fans, friends of mine that are in the business that are just livid about the Mets. And here's the thing, Sid. I just need you to just lay this out because no matter what your expectations were for the Mets, the bottom
Mhm.
line is that with that start, the way that they were able to play, to be able to leak it down their leg the way they did in an expanded playoff and not be in the postseason, there's no excuse for that. For all the heartbreak that you've had as a Mets fan and all my Mets fans' friends, this is the worst. It's the worst. For a team that's supposed to contend, this is the top. I've seen bad Mets teams, a lot of them. But this here, a lot
I
of
don't
Mets
know,
fans said,
man.
why can we at least be in the dance?
You know, I to start, I will say when you don't make the playoff in this with your payroll, with all the things that people are saying, yes, the season is an abject failure. Like, absolutely, that is correct. David Stern said it. I agree. The season is a failure. However, I think they're just things to look forward to in ways that were bigger questions before this. And Clay Holmes was a huge question. Um, Incredibly happy with Clay Holmes. Was not expecting that. Um, Sean Mania and Kodai Senga. I think they were questions going into the season, and albeit they were not the answers that we were looking for, they are an answer, which again is I think a lot better than the reality of what has what it being a Mets fan has been. And then David Peterson. The kid got tired. It's unfortunate, but he's the heir apparent to being the star lefty with the snap move and everything like that. And he had a great year last year, and he had a really okay year this year until he didn't. And then it all kind of just goes back to what David Stearns was saying today. It's about run prevention, and um, I think, like anyone who views baseball like I do, run prevention looks like two things: pitching and defense. When it came down to it, the pitching was bad and the defense was just as bad. And, that's unfortunate, but the answers that we get out of this season, I think, are really good. One, Nolan McLean and Brandon Sproat. You have probably two really good pitchers. Um, who are going to make an immediate impact on the club. Jonah Tong, albeit young, but good. The stuff is good. The changeup is good. The fastball, it's to be desired. It needs more movement. But the kid was 21 and he got brought up in the middle of a walk him down pennant race kind of weird situation where we were competing with the Phillies for being within 4.5 games after a sweep series, and then losing to the Pirates. So this does come down to players for sure, but it's run prevention. Um, and you hate to put names to what people say, but David Stearns, of all people, he's the run prevention guy. You look at the Milwaukee Brewers and you see run prevention, versatility, pitching. That's what you see. That's what you get. He says that he has had 2 years to build a team in his image, and that's more than enough time. One year it looked like it, the next year it did not. And a big part of that is the third baseman question with Mark Vientos. And then even then the offense question, the question with Mark Vientos. You have seven guys in that Mets lineup with an OPS of 750 or more. Francisco Alvarez's OPS got boosted up after his crazy run coming back from AAA. But when you have seven guys with an OPS over 750,
Yeah.
you got to win baseball games. I don't know what to tell you. And
Yeah,
again,
no
run
shit.
prevention is yeah, you got to win. Well, Juan Soto having career years back to back can only get you so much, Lindor having another 30-30 year. So, the prognosis is bad. But, the answer is it's run prevention and it's pitching, and the Mets will have that. And I think Clay Holmes will have a good year next year. I think David Peterson will have a stronger year next year.
Uh-huh.
And then I think, yeah, yeah, of course. No, no on David Peterson. I'm a big
No,
fan.
no, no. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but to say he look at the last 2 years, the velo goes up, the arm angle it fixes itself, the hip angle fixes itself. Yeah, man. I as someone who's big into what pitching looks like, good pitching looks like David Peterson, especially when you have good defense behind you and everything like that. And of course, he's a big ground ball guy. So, when you don't have run prevention behind him, the ground ball guy who's turning a career high double plays last year, it doesn't look the same a year later. So, that again, the question raises to probably be about Mark Vientos and Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, what are we going to do with him in terms of free agency? I think you keep him because,
Right.
they had this same conversation in 1991 with Darryl Strawberry, again at the time the franchise leader in home runs. And I would hate for history to
Right.
not, or for history to repeat itself. And we have, a guy who probably should be with us for his entire career, have a not so great career after the fact, maybe a more successful career in terms of team success later on. But yeah, man, like the prognosis is really just pitching and defense, and I think you can fix that. I think you can
The
fix that when you.
Sid,
Yeah,
Sid,
go ahead.
Sid, the prognosis is that the patient died this year. That's the
Yeah,
prognosis. There's no elixir to fix that. I mean, that's not. So let me just tell you how this works in baseball. No
right.
matter how much money that you've spent, usually that's the owner saying, "Let's pare back a little bit," or we can go without Alonzo, and you plug it in with some guy that's middle shelf and not top shelf. Now everyone admired the Mets for the fan support, everyone going to the ballpark at City Field, but on top of that, when things don't go well after watching the Padres, you know how this works. You try to get less than and try to get by with less than because everyone wants to be the Diamondbacks. So just look out for
Yeah.
that. Don't I mean
Yeah.
don't expect the world.
Yeah,
So
no, it's not so much the expectation of the world, but I do think David Stearns always brings up interesting points whenever he decides to talk to us. He talks about
sure,
the versatility, and he talks about, the need for what Steve Cohen said at the very beginning, kind of becoming like a Dodgers East, to where you can and will spend the money, but you'll also be able to get something from your level of prospect. And whether that something may be trade pieces, whether that something may be, uh, that like frontline starting pitching, whether it be a fill in. I think the Mets have a lot of those pieces. I think we have Jet Williams, the guy who that everyone in the baseball industry was really interested in hearing about. And even in Chicago, they were really interested in hearing about for Luis Roberts. Mark Vientos, although he is the one person in the lineup who just has under 700 OPS, which is really disappointing to me personally, because again, the run he went on in the playoffs last year, he killed it. But there he draws interest. The industry seems to think that he can be a game-changing bat, albeit with more consistency. I've seen him compared to like a Giancarlo Stanton-esque type of player, to with the type of power and the lack of speed around the bases. But it's there are being able to read between the lines for baseball has made me a lot happier in the last few years than it has been to be reactionary to how baseball actually is, you know?
Sure. Sure. I
Yeah.
just know that that prognosis would work if you were a White Sox fan saying, "Oh, that's okay. In 2030, we'll contend." You're better than that. I'm just telling you, as we're presented
Oh
by
no,
Neighborhood
I
Housing
think they'll
Services of.
contend next year. Yeah, no, they'll
Okay,
contend
well that
next year.
okay,
Yeah.
if you say so. Neighborhood
Yeah, no,
Housing
I
Services of Chicago is presents us with this podcast here. NHSchicago.org is where we go for Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago. I want to move on because I want to talk to you about these playoffs,
yeah.
especially Craig Counsell's Chicago Cubs.
Ooh,
So
the Cubbies.
it's an interesting season. It's an interesting season, Sid, because okay, so Cub fans, I'll let you know what Chicago felt, at least Cub fans felt after not getting to the playoffs and the Brewers being 9, 10 games ahead of the Cubs. Cub fans thought, okay, you bring in Kyle Tucker, add a little seasoning, and maybe the Cubs will be able to be in first place in the National League Central. That was not the case. The Brewers got off to had a tremendous run, and the Cubs can never catch up. They've been so up and down all season, but you can't turn a blind eye to the 92-70 record for the Cubs. And so here they are. They'll take on the Padres. I want to get your thoughts about the Cubs because now there will be no Cade Horton in this series, but it's going to be a veteran and Boyd starting things off, and then maybe Imanaga after that. So I want to get your thoughts about the Cubs and their staying power in the playoffs.
Um, you need Cade Horton to stay in the playoffs. That's probably your National League Rookie of the Year. um, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
albeit all things told. But uh, Wrigley Field is a fun one. It has some really weird dimensions. It has some really good players. It has some really good fans. And so, baseball is exactly what baseball is. If you get in, you have a chance. If you play good defense, you have a chance. I think that with all of the questions that the Cubs have had in the second half of the season, um, you need PCA and you need Cade Horton if you're gonna really have this really good staying power, and you need a healthy Kyle Tucker, and that's really the big and small of it. That those are going to be the guys to kind of get you to where you need to be. You need a second pitcher. You probably need Imanaga or Boyd to probably pitch something to a tune of like a 3.63 ish ERA. So, something kind of in that realm to make sure that they are, that they're, that like I said, the run prevention is staying with the offensive production. But yeah, PCA, you need PCA. He started off historical, really good, and again, he had people thinking that the Mets had some more egg on their face with this one. And they still might, but PCA, he at one point we're talking about him competing with Shohei Ohtani. Now we're talking about him just being able to put it together. I think he can do more than put it together. And the kid has swagger, the kid has energy. Let enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself, enjoy the moment, and you know, play the Padres well because the Padres are fun, but their starting pitching not as prominent. It's that bullpen. It's the bats, it's the explosiveness. But I think it's a winnable series for the home team for the Cubbies. So, go all in, win. Go get a series win.
So when you talk about the Padres, and I've invested a lot of time watching them, you heard me talking about this in the open. Like I've been watching them a lot.
Hmm.
I understand that they're always going to be the bridesmaid because head to head against the Dodgers, it's always Padres always fall short, and it's kind of and it's an interesting team
Hmm.
because it feels all or nothing when I watch the Padres. Like again, if I said, "Hey Sid, I got a team for you that has Luis Arise, the next pseudo Tony Gwynn. He's a great contact hitter. He just gets a bat on the ball, just really great, right?" You have I got a team for you, Sid, that has Tatis, it's got Jackson Merrill, and it's got Manny Machado, and it's got Bogarts, and it's got Cronenworth, and it's got Ryan O'Hearn, and it's got
Ramon
Gavin
Laureano.
Sheets, Laureano. Like if I give you that team, you would say, okay, great, don't arrest me, like the siren in the background, don't arrest me. Yeah, you'd say, yeah, I would, you would take that team, but you know what? So up and down, and I actually don't know what to expect with them. On paper, every time you say, oh my God, someone's going to hurt you. But sometimes they just go cold at the same time. And again, a team that's won a lot of baseball games, but I'm not sure what to expect from them.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that kind of how AJ Preller operates? Kind of all or nothing, you know?
Yeah.
He's either going to get rid of the entire team or he's going to double and triple down off of the thing he just did in the offseason. So, like, to the maker, you know, it is a vision of the maker. It is AJ Preller basically saying, like, am I a mad scientist in this kitchen in San Diego? Probably, but like, will I completely fire a manager and hire a different one who just got fired? Yeah, I will, because he did it. And
Yeah, he has done that. Yes.
he did it, and Bob Melvin has since been relieved of a job. You know, since Mike Schultz has taken over in San Diego. So you know, it's in the image of the creator, which is really nice. But yeah, they're fun. They're you never know what to expect. And yeah, you said it. They're, you know, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And you want to think that one day they'll be that beautiful bride because they have all of the really nice features that go. They have a really nice bullpen. They have a really fun infield. They have a really fun outfield. But again, none of these features really matter unless you can put it all together. And maybe if you're, you know, the architect of what you're doing isn't maybe volatile isn't the right word, but like it feels like anyone is liable to go always over there. Because at one point they were talking about, hey, maybe we should get rid of Manny Machado. And then with the erraticness of Fernando Tatis's career and that being
Mm-hmm.
the egg on the face of the Chicago White Sox is always pretty funny to me as well. But yeah, it's I never know what to expect because I don't think the Padres ever know what to expect. But
But I think your
I like the
point
Cubs.
I think your point is well taken though. Your point is well taken when you talk about the starting pitching though, because you're starting with Nick Pavetta. And I've watched Cease a lot. Cease is kind of regressed back to early Sox Cease at times, where there was a time I'm watching Cease with the White Sox. I go, the only person in the ballpark that doesn't believe in Dylan Cease is Dylan Cease until
Yep,
he got it, right? Until he got it. And so there's a reason why he's going to be, I don't have it in front of me. I believe he's number 2 in this rotation against the
that
Cubs.
would make sense.
But
Yeah,
the point is, though, is that he hasn't been as sharp. He's not as sharp as he was in previous years. So you're right. If even though the Cubs don't have their big ace at the time here in Cade Horton, the Padres, they've got some work to do in their starting pick, because if you get into the bullpen, that's going to be problematic, I think, for the Cubs, because Padres bullpen,
yeah.
that's one thing I could say. More times than not, they get the job done.
It's never, it's not always pretty, but they do get the job done because, like, you know, when you got a guy who can probably get you 6 or 7 outs while also maintaining anywhere from 96 to 102, of course you're going to get the out. Like people just aren't hitting that, and it's fine. And but yeah, the bullpen is exactly what you know what the Padres are. You know, and they hit, they hit, they swing, they hit. And then they have a lot of veteran experience in there. What and you know Tatis, veteran, Bogarts, veteran, Laureano, veteran, like it's there's just a lot of guys who have been here, a lot of guys who know what to do, and it seems like you know we're so far away from that young Slam Diego team that gave us so much hope and joy during COVID. And now you know that
Yeah.
that same team is is just so old, and they're kind of like the fun guy at the bar where they're just like, yeah, we're still so much fun and they still party, but they know they wake up in the morning and can't do the same thing next year.
The High and Outside podcast is where you can find Sid, part of the Barber Chair Network. I do you have the matchups in front of you? Because I do want to ask you which matchup intrigues you most here in the first round.
So honestly, this is gonna sound like a lot of hate, and it's gonna sound like a lot of hate. But oh man, Dodgers, Dodgers, Dodgers. Hunter
Mhm.
Green, show me something. Show me something, Hunter Green. Oh my gosh. I am such a big believer in pitching being the thing that'll take you there. And that guy is just so damn good. So I want to see him, and I want to know what the Shohei Otani plan is. Um, and then of course, like the Red Sox and the Yankees. Another chapter in what should be culture. I think like there's nothing better than getting those historical matchups that make people not want to watch the game, because like that's what we all want, right? Like we all kind of want to watch through our eyes and be like, not again. Like as much as we all hate the not again feeling, we love the not again feeling. That's why I'm excited for spring training. That's why everyone's excited for the beginning of the NBA. Like, come on.
No, it's all good. It's funny that you mention the Reds and the Dodgers because it gives me those Deborah Cox feels from 1998. Nobody's supposed to be here. The Reds are not supposed to be here, right?
And
The
the
Red
Dodgers
Sox make
certainly
this
should
big
not be down
deal.
there.
It's just like they're not supposed to be here. The Reds out of nowhere. Again, we talk about hot teams at the end, right? 83
Hmm.
79. They get themselves in the playoffs. And the same thing here, with the Red Sox, because they thought, oh, this is a retooling, right? Devers is out, so we have to, and they're right there, smack dab in front of the matchup against the Yankees. So this is why baseball has been so much fun because it has been unpredictable. And I think that's a good shot in the arm for baseball, where it's just like I can't give you a favorite today. Today I cannot give you a favorite. But I will say that if it's someone that we're not thinking, that's good for baseball because it's not just chalk.
Um, I never do this because I always end up regretting it. But Seattle Mariners, you are my favorite to win. Um that's who I want to see win. That is my favorite to win. The Seattle Mariners over the Jesus Christ, there's not one team I like in the NL. Oh gosh, I am a hater. I am a hater through and
You got to
through.
pick a team.
Jesus.
Why don't you take
I
take the Reds since you like Hunter Green so much?
I live in Louisville, and so I'd have a lot of friends who talk to me about the Mets this week. So I can't pick them. You know what?
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go Chicago Cubs. I think the
So
Mariners and the
what?
Cubs.
So tell me this: why not the Phillies? That's the question.
Oh, cooked product. Cooked product for sure. I don't believe in their pitching. I don't believe in anything about the Phillies. Oh, goodness gracious. I see how they play against us. They play to the level of people. And no, I just don't think that's it. Uh Zach Wheeler went down. Aaron Nola stinks. Their bullpen is eh. They're a Harrison Bader away from being the Mets. Oh gosh, no.
So we should play a game of elimination. Okay, so
Okay.
if you're gonna take Seattle, that means
Uh-huh.
that you feel like the Tigers have run out of gas. And by the way, on our show, my producer Shay Norling is a Tigers fan. He's from Detroit, and he said that
Mm,
because the Tigers lost so much, that when they do clinch, there should be no celebration. There should be no
yeah.
champagne. Just
Yeah.
just nothing, right? Just like, hey, you wanted champagne, get past the Guardians in the first round. That was his
Yeah,
lament.
I agree.
So
Yeah, I agree.
so, like no champagne because they don't deserve it. You know how shitty they played down the stretch. The
They were
Tigers
just as
have been
bad as the
awful.
Mets. They were just as bad as the Mets. Yeah, real bad.
Okay, so all right. So you mentioned Seattle. So
Mhm.
tell me why not Toronto in that spot?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I do not watch a lot of Toronto Blue Jays baseball. I know they're good. I don't know how or why. I I just don't. I know Vladdy's good. I know Bo Bichette was hurt for a little while. I know George Springer is having a good year. Um, I they just got rid of Alec Manoah. I don't really know what the pitching situation looks like up there either. But like I'm thinking of like the Mariners, and I got like three guys off that pitching staff already that I can think of that I'm absolutely in love with in terms of baseball players. Like George Kirby, he's one of my favorite baseball players in the world.
Mhm.
Yeah, Brian Wu, one of my favorite pitchers. Luis Castillo, one of my favorite pitchers. But you know, it's no Blue Jays because I don't know. But one thing about the Blue Jays is that they have always tried to improve and have quietly been able to do so in winning the AL East. And so I think that I think that it's just as possible, you know, because you know they whiff on Soto, they whiff on Shohei, they get their guy in Vladdy. It's probably time to do some good due diligence for those guys and for them to win a playoff series. I never believe in one of the two teams coming off of that bye. And so it's you know, I picked the I picked the love of my life over the girl that I didn't really know. But you know, there are some people who will pick that girl that they don't really know. Corey Matthews almost did it when he chose Lauren over Topanga. So like, you know,
Sounds like a fine program on BET Plus. I'm gonna look for that plot that you just laid out there.
oh, it's
Um,
Boy Meets World, bro. It's Boy Meets World. Oh, it's great.
yes,
You gotta watch Boy Meets World. That's from the '90s, man.
I do. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Oh
I do
yeah.
want to ask you about the National League though, Sid. Okay,
Hmm.
I just want you to play King of the Hill with me and we're gonna do eliminator. So we'll start with the Brewers, who was the hot team in the National League Central. They went on an insane run, cooled off at the end, but the point is that they won the division, and Cub fans are pissed about it. So
Hmm.
Brewers win the pennant. You don't think you? So are we eliminating the Brewers for this spot? Why can't the Brewers get there?
I'm not eliminating the Brewers. I am always in constant service of David Stearns and protecting everything that he says and does. And so, because of that, I will be hating on the Brewers, and there will be no more questions. Thank you.
All right. So we move on to the. Do you say the Phillies are out?
Yes.
Dodgers have had their ups and downs, obviously, right? So the Dodgers, you don't believe that there's another run. You don't think that they can get there.
Um, the starting pitching has to answer some questions for me. Roki has been not good. Um, who's the other young man they
They're
have? The
starting.
young man
They're
from
starting with
Japan.
Blake. They're starting with Blake Snell, by the way, in Game One. It's Snell,
Okay. Okay, Blake Snell. And then who number two would be is that Yamamoto?
and then Shohei down the line
Oh yeah.
for a Game Three,
Um
possibly.
yeah, yeah. Um two really good pitchers up top, really good offense. Yeah, the Dodgers could do it. I mean, they have to be able to do it. That's, you know, they're the gold standard when it comes to playoffs because they just do it. I will always question David Roberts and his decision making when it comes to the bullpen and how he goes about managing it, but every year it seems to be, oh, you know, how is old Dave Roberts going to get out of this one? And then nonetheless, old Davey wriggles his way out of this one again for another ring. So yeah, they can do
So
it.
that becomes so be so this becomes Reds Dodgers is the first series. You have the
Mhm,
Dodgers getting past the Reds, so now we got Dodgers Phillies, a Phillies team
mhm,
that you don't believe in because of pitching,
mhm.
and believe I got Phillies fans friends that also said we're a fraud. Don't tell anybody, but we're a fraud. So I got
Yeah,
that right.
yeah.
So maybe the Phillies find a way, and because the Dodgers are vulnerable, but that's the matchup, Dodgers Phillies. So when we play Eliminator, do you like the Dodgers or the Phillies in that series if you get there?
Oh, I like the Dodgers. You can't overcome bad pitching, no matter what, and the Dodgers seem to have a red wave of bodies. Like they have the Soviet the Soviet strategy of just throwing bodies on the front line, and someone will figure it out.
Uh-huh.
And as long as they have Shohei Otani and at least one guy, they'll be good. So yeah, I got to go Dodgers there.
Okay, so you mentioned the Cubs. If the Cubs get past the Padres, the Cubs play the Brewers, and that's going to be a bloodbath. There's going to be a lot of
Mhm.
arrests because Brewers fans and Cubs fans don't get along. It's the up I-90. It's 90 minutes between Chicago and Milwaukee, and the Cubs could have the Brewers' number, Sid. So are you looking for the Cubs to get past the Brewers in that spot?
Uh I think so. And you know, sometimes it just feels right, right? So like, the old managers there and then like the guys who you thought you had them for a little bit and it the way you talked about the Mets earlier, and how
Yeah.
like eventually you got to get rid of some payroll when you start doing stuff. I think that's kind of where we are with the Cubs, where like, do I believe that they've been doing a lot of stuff? No, but do I believe that they're convinced that they should spend a $500 million contract on Kyle Tucker when they kind of got to re-sign PCA at some point too, and you probably won't get him on one of those Red Sox nice pick him and play him deals or the or the AA Braves deals for that. So
Yeah.
I think it might be kind of a last dance situation for a bunch of guys who had no clue they were in a last dance situation because the Ricketts family is the Ricketts family. And so yeah, uh, let's just go Cubs for the sake of prosperity. No,
Okay.
it's
All
been
right.
almost 10 years since their thing. Let's give them another NLCS.
Man, let me tell you something. If that's going to be the case, boy, there's going to be a lot of Cub fans. First of all, there's going to be a lot of Jed Hoyer telling you "I told you so" because he did very.
Mm-hmm.
Because last time you and I spoke, we were talking at the deadline, and they didn't do shit. Very very little, Sid. Because they needed a left-handed thump, they needed bullpen help, and they didn't get. I mean, Kittredge is fine, but they did not get what I would say top shelf guys. Now, many thought that the Cubs would be in the mix for Eugenio Suarez, and actually, that's glad they didn't do that. He struggled in the second half,
Right.
but he's part of the Seattle team though. So it's that would be something if this Cubs team can go that far as you predict, because you're going to get aggregated now that you said that. You just can't hide.
Right.
You're going to get aggregated. People are going to say,
Oh yeah, that's
Sid
fine.
from the High and Outside podcast said
Oh
that
yeah, I would
the
love
Cubs are
that.
going to
Yeah.
win the pennant.
Yeah, I would love that. Oh, please. Are you kidding me?
It's okay.
For
All right.
people like me, there's no such thing as bad publicity in baseball, mostly because I say things that I believe in and things that aren't wildly offensive to people who hear them. So maybe, if Cubs fans, if it doesn't happen and you see me in Chicago, beer on me or something like that, I don't know, I'll buy you a drink. Something to recompense my transgressions, but baseball, right? It's fun, and the Padres don't ever make the NLCS, and if they do, they don't play well. So like, cool. Let's give someone else a chance. And we're 10 years out from the 2016 team, and you know,
Mhm.
most of those guys did not go on to do very good or well things in this league. And so let's give them a last hurrah, right?
I think that the T-shirt that you should be wearing is baseball, right? I think that's as you just expressed to us, baseball,
Oh
right?
yeah.
The Sid
Oh
T-shirt.
yeah.
I'd buy
Yeah,
one.
no.
I'd buy one.
Oh, dude, oh my
Baseball,
gosh.
right?
You know what? I'm gonna talk to Courtney about that one because me and her have and if you don't follow Courtney, it's at 1-800 call a bro. Um, one of the most fantastic minds I've ever talked to, and just so funny and so her actually let me just shout out the whole team. Her October's own Tay, uh and then team Mill, Malik, all of those guys, just fantastic job. We cut up every day in the baseball chat and we just have so much fun. And we're all on this little path of stats and baseball and learning and everything, and they've just made it so much fun for me, and they've introduced me to so many great people. So yeah, they're great. But yeah, like baseball, right?
Baseball, right? I cannot wait to get that T-shirt. Sid,
Oh
I'm glad
yeah,
you spent
man.
some time with us, man. As we try to work out our baseball problems and try to figure out the formula, all I know is that the postseason is going to be a lot of fun because it's been a coin flip. I think a lot here
Yeah,
this season, so it's just so much fun.
yeah. Like I say it every year. The Mets don't ever upset me anymore. Just because I find so much joy in baseball, and so much love and so much freedom and so much happiness when it comes to this sport. They'll never make me hate it until the lockout happens. Then I'll have nothing nice to say about baseball. But
Right?
until then, my first love, my last love, my only love, baseball. Thank you so much for giving me all of these things, because baseball, man, it's the bee's knees. Like it's the best. I There's not much that makes me happier in this world than being able to, talk about baseball and all of the ups and downs. And I can't wait to, you know, diagnose the playoffs, and I can't wait to, for the Mets to hit St. Port Lucie and do it again.
Baseball, right?
Hell yeah.
Sid with us here as we talk baseball here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe what we do here on YouTube. Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood.